Hey guys, it's D.I.D. Choi. This is a continuation video of the last video where I taught you guys how to make a perfect beat map that would map up exactly with the hit points that you wanted. In this video, I'm going to use the same resources that are also linked below in this video for you to download and follow along to if you'd like, or just to try some different methods out. So feel free to go and download those resources and use them for your own practice freely. So today I'm going to carry on from the beat map that we made last time. And this time, I'm going to get rid of these time signature changes. And we're going to pretend that from marker 3 to marker 6, we're going to make the music slower. We're going to actually change the tempo. Here, we're basically at 110 for the whole thing, give or take half a BPM. A lot of the time, you have cues where you want slightly more drastic changes in tempos because, you know, maybe you're Mickey Mousing and you want a sad section and a loud section and an action section and an adventure section. So I am going to go ahead and remove, oops, it's going to be easier to just do it like this, remove these little tempo changes here, the 110 and this one, nope, not that one, okay? So I removed it, which means all of the hit points that we set up after that point are going to be off, but that's okay because we're changing everything anyways. This middle section, let's drag it down to around 70 BPM because that's what I want this section to kind of feel like. Okay, so maybe I want this to be actually on beat 1 instead of whatever beat that is. So I'll move this tempo block here. Marker 3 is 311, so this one should be 311. So as a result, this part actually got a lot slower. We're now down to 107.9, which is only like 3 BPM and it's not that perceptible. But for the heck of it, since we're here doing retardandos and accelerandos and stuff like that, why don't we add a slight subtle retardando and make things a little bit more even instead. Rather than a quick jump of 3 BPM, it's going to be a gradual change, and rather than ending up at 107, we're probably going to end up more at like 108.5 or 109 or something like that. So to make a gradual change in logic, basically what you want to do is give yourself a little bit more space. Get that node right there, move it in. You know, you could do a totally linear one, you can do a curved one, you can do a earlier kind of curve. For now, let's just try doing a linear one and put that back to, oops, make sure things are not being selected and only what you want is selected. Okay. Of course, you can go in here and just select 110 and make it super accurate. And because we have that curve now, this is going to be slightly off compared to before again. Make sure this is 11. And that changed this to 107.97, right? Now, musically, when you listen to a retardando, a lot of the time conductors are going to overshoot the tempo and then speed back up to whatever new tempo they want. You know, if you just think of it like a conductor, you're just going 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 4E and the 1E and the 2E and the 3. You know, that was a little exaggerated or not depending on the context. But yeah, so I did a linear retardando here, but to make it more natural, what I'm going to do is add another tempo point, drag these back 1 beat each, because that 4th beat is usually the slowest and then it recovers. So instead of ending at 108 here, I'm actually going to overshoot it, make it go to say 105. Let's just keep it a little more accurate there. Okay, and then it shoots back up to 108. This is obviously going to be changed again, so back to 311. That moved our tempo to 108.14. Okay, let's listen to this click now. Put my headphones on so I can hear it too. Yeah, so to me that sounded like a very natural, subtle poco retardando that could really just be like an artifact of rubato in a regular performance that wouldn't be to click. And players would have no problem with doing something subtle like that, especially if they have it marked in the score that there is a poco right there and the conductor is going to be doing a good job. Now, this change, let's just pretend that maybe from bar 28, this is like a really held note, like a fermata kind of thing. And we're starting in a new tempo here, and the first actual music starts in bar 31, so we don't need a retardando there. We have a new beginning of lyrical music. Okay, let's make marker 4 now line up right there. So we just did a random number that's close to 70 BPM, but obviously that's not going to be exactly what we're going to get. Here we have 1615. Let's just plug that in. So that's like what, almost 10 frames? Or exactly 10 frames or something like that. And we're at 72.8. That's not bad. Now I want things to kind of be at that 72.8 figure just so that it's consistent. And then we can move things as we go. So I'm going to move that other little node there. Okay, this one seems to land very close to beat 3, but because this is going to be the more advanced video compared to the other video, what we're going to do is we're going to add a huge retardando, like a moto retardando, and this marker 5 is actually going to land on beat 1 of 43, because we're slowing down a lot. So I'm just going to move this way down to like the 30s, you know, make sure the curve is looking good. Okay, and I want it just to be 30 on that last beat there. So for the first 2 beats, because of this curve, you can see that there's not too much of a change of tempo. So from the previous bar, it's going to be something like ticka 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 ta. Just looking at that curve right there, you can make it more or less subtle depending on what you want. But if we zoom in here, we can see that already we're very close to what we want. You can move around this curve to make sure that this lines up with the bar, or what you can do, especially when you have beat 4 as a fixed BPM rather than a moving one, which tends to be more natural, especially with conductors slowing down to beat 4 and then giving a prep into the next beat. So what we can do is make sure marker 5 is just in the right place, 4718, so 47. So we're moving it like 4 or 5 frames. Okay, so that took us to 33.8, which is a little faster, which I guess is going to be a little less drastic and more natural. Let's listen to how this sounds. Why don't I make the metronome subdivide so we can hear that retardando better. Yeah. So you can see that that's a very nice dramatic retardando for a moto rit kind of situation that's really dramatic. You want to create that beat 4 node and drag it down to maybe half of the BPM value. So 70 divided by 2 is 35. We're at 72 to 33.8. That's pretty much at that value. And you can mess around with this curve depending on how fast you want the rit to start or not. You could also start the rit a little earlier depending on what you want. Again, that's up to interpretation and how you want the music to come across. So that's a supernatural retardando. Let's do an accelerando. Let's say that this one we want to line up with bar 52. So we're gonna add another tempo mark there. And we want this one to be a little bit more gradual, you know, like a nice linear thing. So I'm gonna pull that up momentarily, make this linear. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna pull this down. What do we say, 52? Okay, we're very close. Let's see, what happens if I move it down? Yeah, so now we're in the ballpark. Okay, so 52, marker 6, 1500, 1500. We're in the right ballpark because I was just too good at this. Let's say we don't want it linear, so it's a little bit more difficult on us. Maybe it's a little later. No, there's this very subtle build-up in tempo, and then near towards the end, we're gonna just ramp it up. So that means this has to be a little bit faster, right? Because we saved the accelerando towards the end, we got to accelerando more to get to the right tempo. And again, I'm going to move this to beat 4 of the previous bar because conductors might overshoot a accelerando just ever so slightly. Okay, try moving that down a couple, maybe one more. Okay, where are we at? 1411, we want it 1500. Oh, sorry, wrong node. This one, 1500. Okay, we have a nice perfect accelerando. Let's take a listen to that. Just gonna skip ahead a little. 1, 2, 3. Okay, slowly ramping up now. Okay, you can really start feeling it. Tension. Yeah, and now we're at that new tempo. So that's a pretty natural accelerando, and it's very different from just doing a linear thing all the way to the downbeat. You know, having that extra little chunk of resetting on that 4th beat just before the landing point is going to make everything a lot more natural. Okay, let's just remove those other 2 little nodes there. Okay, we want to make sure that this lands on a downbeat again. So Okay, so add a little thing there. 5917. Bam. We're at 102 here. And there you have it. Couple accelerandos, retardandos, feeling really natural and organic and musical rather than just doing a nice BPM curve that may look nice and feel nice and is easier to do. Doing something like this, it actually gives you more control over the exact curve, how much we're gonna recover, how much the prep is gonna feel normal, like 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 4 and 1. You know, that's how a conductor might conduct it. Right? So those things you can actually program into the BPM itself rather than doing a complete stop of the BPM. Maybe this last beat is going to match the next bar. In this case, it wouldn't work. We'd have to readjust everything. But that could be something you might want to do if it's like a really drastic one that maybe ends on beat 3 or something earlier like that. And another thing you can do to improve your retardandos and make them more realistic is actually beat map some existing music. Just see what conductors and, you know, good performers, maybe piano solo or something like that might be easier with transients. Just see what the shape of their retardandos are like. They're rarely gonna be straight. And also their rubatos. The way rubato tends to work in classical music, the way they do it with tempo, if they're not playing with a click, a lot of the time, just as an example, one bar might look something like this. Each beat is gonna be different. Beat 4 is always slower. Okay, beat 1 might also be a little slower because they're arriving. Beat 2 and beat 3, maybe it actually gets faster. So even around the average of 108 BPM, what we're actually getting with an actual classical performance is, instead of going ticka 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 ticka, they might lean into beat 1, and on beat 4 they're gonna wait a little. So it's gonna be like ticka 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 ticka. That's just a side effect of people playing together. They're waiting for each other to take a breath. They're waiting for each other to land on the next beat. Maybe they're a little tentative, a little hesitant, especially if with the slower music stuff, or they're following the conductor and he's just taking a little extra time. The first and the fourth beat are always going to be a little slower, and the middle beats are going to be a little faster. And that's how they kind of recover tempo as well. So just beat mapping a couple existing pieces and understanding that is going to help you make really natural rubato-like tempo maps as well if you're doing anything with the virtual orchestra. Otherwise, if you're working with real players, sometimes just giving them a straight click and asking them to play rubato is going to be enough, and they're going to do everything naturally within the click's parameters, but it's going to feel like there's some rubato there, right? So yeah, that was another very quick video following up to the previous video. Again, links are down below to 2 of these little sample videos. Here I only used 1 of them. There's another one for you guys that you can freely use for a slightly different tempo map. You can also use this exact same video and do it in 3/4. Try it in 6/8. Try it in a different time signature, a different general tempo overall. Maybe instead of 110, you go with the other options. Here they say 136 is going to work well. Maybe you want to challenge yourself and feel really strongly about keeping almost everything at 80 BPM. So even with this 1 or 2 resources that are provided, you can try out multiple different types of beat mapping. So go ahead and do that. If it helps you, leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like, notification bell, all that stuff. This has been D.I.D. Choi, and I'll see you in the next one.